do this again?
No, to be honest, like what I was thinking, like honestly, like my thought, I was like in the medical room, and I was like down in the corner. I was sitting in the corner, and I was like, what am I anymore if I'm not this? And I was literally sitting there and like thinking about killing myself. And that exact second, I'm like, I'm nothing. I'm like, what do I do anymore? And no one gives a shit about me anymore without this. And to be honest, I looked up and I saw my man, Travis, was standing there, and I was looking up at him, and I was just like, I need to have his babies. I need to stay alive. That was like, really, that was
You need to stay alive.
All right, America. All right, America. So that was an excerpt of an Ellen DeGeneres show, daytime television show. It was Rhonda Rousey giving her 2 cents on how she felt. I think this is one of the first interviews she's had publicly since she got knocked out by Holly Holm in a bantamweight title fight in UFC. Most of us know who Rhonda Rousey is. If you don't know, she is a UFC fighter. That's what she does. That's her profession. She's very famous. She's known from recently being undefeated and I guess presumably unstoppable until that fateful day when she got beat up.
Man,
so
yeah, that was.
And now here she is talking about how an athlete, specifically her, but we're going to transition into this, how celebrities, how people feel, the expectations of celebrities, and how low they can get whenever they feel as if they have failed people or failed themselves and their expectations. So,
well, yeah, as Dirk said, Dirk hit everything on the head, man. These athletes, man, we don't always see it, but they're under a lot of pressure, a lot of scrutiny to perform. And when you carry a title like she did as a bantamweight champion, the pressure can be very immense and very real. And I don't know how much pressure she was actually under, and she was knocking people out like left and right, man. So the hype was definitely there, but I'm going to say this, man. That piece really touched me. It kind of puts me, I kind of, get speechless every time I hear it, because when you hear people talking about, suicide, that's a place that I don't really like to go. I don't really like to think about.
Yeah, that's the darkest thing, that you can ever get to so far as the self-esteem level. That's all-time low, y'all. That's like bankruptcy of self-esteem. You're at the bottom.
So let me ask you this, Dirk. I know we said she was a champion and she was undefeated at that point. I'm not sure how many fights. But she did come off, before a lot of those fights as cocky and arrogant. And once again, we already talked about how the media portrays people and stuff like that. So we don't know the real Rhonda Rousey off the set. But I'm pretty sure we got a good piece of her in that excerpt that we just played. So, in all fairness, this may seem like a silly question, especially after watching something like that. But do you think that there should be an honest sentiment for Rhonda Rousey after watching that? And did that change the complexion of how you saw her before that?
I would say no for myself, only because I guess the natural way that self-esteem and psychology works and the human mind works, and how we feel about certain things, you could sit there and you can have this persona as I'm the champion, I can't be beat, I'm kind of cocky with it, I can beat anybody. Whether you think of it as cockiness or supreme confidence, some of that can be swayed by your employer. Maybe UFC was telling, hey, this is making a lot of money, keep it going as much as you can, take it as far as you want to go because everybody loves it, kind of deal. It's lightning in the bottle, so let's take advantage of it. Or it could just be because that's how she felt, as it being an intimidation factor for her opponents. Keep in mind that she's a fighter. It's a one-on-one kind of type of deal. It's not a team sport. So she is relying upon herself and only herself. Therefore, she has to do whatever she can to try to get some kind of mental advantage. So that could be the case. In her case, she was pretty good, period. I mean, she is still, if she decides to come back, and how she comes back, I don't know. But, I mean, she is still good. I think she was riding a wave as far as she could. I think she rode it so far that expectations got so high that the cliff or the tree or whatever you want to use as a high object that you be on started getting higher and higher and higher. So when the fall actually happened, it was such a hard fall that it was devastating. And for anybody that didn't see it, please go, if you can stand it, please go check it out on YouTube or some media outlet to see the whole extent to the fight. I mean, it'll take you about 5 to 10 minutes to watch the whole fight because she got knocked out in the second round. But prior to that, I actually watched 2 or 3 fights before that of hers where she just annihilated opponents. She is famous for her submission move, the arm bar. But she was getting to the point to where she was getting, like, she was trying things out. She was like, okay, you say that you are a strike artist, so I'm going to outstrike you. You know, I'm going to knock you out with a punch. Holly Holm the same way. She thought she could come out just like the girl that she beat before, the Brazilian chick. I forgot her name. But, yeah, she thought she was going to beat her the same way, you know, do the same thing. But Holly Holm was a little better, a little faster, a little stronger. So it just proved to be. But if she would have stuck to her forte, which is to get you in an arm bar and make you submit, then I thought she would have had a better chance. But either near or there, now that it's afterwards and she got knocked out, and we get into the whole suicide thing, like you said, I do believe that she is that person. I think she's sensitive at heart, very sensitive, and she was trying to do this persona because we like that. We like her being that. If she would have came out like this at the beginning, she wouldn't have got no ratings. I mean, people would have felt kind of, felt kind of bad for you, but okay, get back in the ring because I like to see you fight, kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know, so, but now I do think it gives her points, you know, about it. I do think that people like the sympathy factor. They like the fact that she's willing to admit that kind of stuff. Like you said, I've never been that type of person to get that low to where I thought about taking my own life, and that's very serious. But I have never been publicly humiliated at that fashion, and people still playing it to this day. It's not like it can ever go away, especially in this day and age. So, I guess to answer your question, I mean, I do think people could get to that point, and it's a crying shame. I hope. Oh, and another point of order is that she had suicide. Her dad committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, her dad committed suicide and died at a younger age when she was a child. And she's been accustomed to being around people that had low self-esteem, which a lot of psychologists believe that is hereditary. So you have to keep that in mind whenever she's coming from that type of place as a point of order. But
well, I will say this, man. I didn't watch that fight, but I did watch a recap of it. And when I saw it, I don't want to be disrespectful to Rhonda Rousey, but just for the sake of making a point, man, that was a curb stomping, man, beat down. I mean, there's no other way to say it. So I felt pretty bad for, you know. You
almost feel uncomfortable when you're watching it.
Yeah. I had to close my eyes a few times because it's pretty graphic. But that, that's another subject for another day. But you always hear me say this a lot, but I don't think the audience will say this. When it comes to combative sports, one-on-one sports, I was telling Dirk this earlier, but there's always somebody out there that can get you. You just better hope you don't run into them in your career. There's always somebody bigger, badder, faster when it comes to fighting. Nobody can whip everybody. If anybody thinks that, then that's, it's okay to be confident, but the reality of that happening is slim to none. That's why I respect guys who haven't lost. like, you know, a Floyd Mayweather or a Rocky Marciano. We ain't gonna talk about Floyd today. Once again, another subject for another day. Floyd, you my man. Keep up the good work. Come back. Give us a couple of other fights, then you can retire again. But back to Rhonda Rousey though. Man, I felt bad for her after that fight, but when I watched this, man, I'm an emotional person. I don't know if y'all realize that yet by now, but it almost brought it almost brought me to tears, man, because it's like, man, I didn't know it was that bad. But I've heard, you know, people in the fight game saying that, you know, fighters, what scared me most about it is that fighters, when they get knocked out, you know, some of them never recover from that psychologically. It's hard for them to get back to where they was, you know, mentally, to get in the ring and want to compete again. You know, when, you know, it's not like losing a football game or a basketball game. You know, you literally just got physically beat. So the effects on a person's mind, you know, and obviously their physical body can be devastating. So when you take all of that into consideration as well, and you hear talking about suicide and tearing up, you know, you can't help but to feel for her. Now, I never was a big Rhonda Rousey fan. I'm not even a big MMA fan, but I will be pulling for Rhonda to get back into the ring just so she can not just get back in there and, you know, make up for the loss, but just for herself being her self-preservation. See, now this is a sport where you can care about preservation because, like Dirk said, you're in there by yourself, so you represent yourself. Ain't nobody can fight for you. So I want to see her get back in there, you know, gain some of that respect back, gain some of that confidence back, gain some of that swagger back, because you don't ever want to hear a person talking about suicide. Now, I know I've never felt like I wanted to commit suicide, but I've been where she's been to, you know, where you failed at something.
Extent,
yeah, and you felt like you was nothing, and you just felt so bad. But, you know, my news for Rhonda is there's a way to come back. I think she will bounce back, but I think she has to, you know, get in there. Bouncing back may not even be a victory, by the way. We want to quantify everything, especially when it comes to competitive athletics, by winning and losing, you know, the old cliche. The only thing that matters is that you win. Hopefully, no offense to sports, and I'm all about winning. I don't like losing either. But hopefully a video like that has taught us that maybe winning isn't the most important thing. And I know they got a bunch of crazy, souped-up parents out there that's probably going to get mad hearing this because it's some that start their kids early age. You got to win. You got to win at all costs. And I'm all for that. Nothing wrong with that. That's part of competition. But sometimes winning ain't the most important thing. Just look at what you just remember what we just saw with Rhonda. That's life right there. That's not winning and losing. That's life.
That's right. And I think she'll bounce back in a strong way. I hope she does. You know, Rhonda, we pulling for you and we praying for you. I do believe it. Some people don't believe that it's legit. They think it's a ploy or a plot to, I guess, gain publicity again.
Well, she got me fooled if it's a game.
Yeah, but I mean, it sounds legit to me.
About 1,000 onions in there to get a cry like that on the set.
But, you know, neither here nor there. I hope that she rises again and at least, you know, do what she loves to do, because obviously she loves to do it. So.
Yeah, win or lose, get back in there and compete, Rhonda. Don't worry about what people say. Get people in your crowd that you can trust. And just do the best you can, Rhonda. And you somebody just for doing the best you can. This was the last word. We out.